Hello, my name is Debbie. I'm Owl and Gator Stitcher. Welcome to Flosstube number 2. Today is Wednesday, January 27th, 2020. This is a video about cross stitch, and I probably will throw in books and life from time to time. So if you're interested, I encourage you to stick around. Thank you to everyone who watched my first video, who left comments, who liked it, subscribed. It really means a lot to me. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I've been stitching on. As I mentioned in my last video, I'm a member of a lot of different challenge groups. That sort of helps direct what I'm stitching on. I have 41 active projects right now, and so from time to time, while sometimes I just pick up and stitch what I want to stitch on, often it's good to have a prompt or something that says, oh yeah, let me reach for something I haven't reached for in a while. So the project that I've tried and put in a few stitches in every day is Old World Map by Artecy. Here is a picture of what the final project will look like, and here's where I am now. I managed to use this for a prompt as well. I'm a member of Magical Stitches, and we had to put 1,000 stitches into our oldest project. So that allowed me in this diagonal here to finish out all of the stitches, all of the remaining stitches in that. I completed another diagonal and even managed to get a few little stitches in up there. So this project is my oldest, not as much done on it as I would like because it didn't get a lot of love after I started it, but I'm really glad that I'm trying to focus a little bit on it every day, and step by step we will get closer to the finish. So the next project that I worked on was for Full Coverage Fanatics. It is Artecy's White Owl, artwork by Kayomi Harai. I just love this pattern, just the usage of blues and the expression on the owl's face. I really, really love this one. So I managed to use this for a variety of prompts as well. Most significantly, Full Coverage Fanatics has a bingo, and so I used this for one of the prompts. We had to stitch on a bird. So here's where I am now. So I'm still sort of in the sort of towards the top. I managed to get a lot of the blue in here and quite a bit on the wing as well. I know it's hard to tell because it's obviously white on white. This is full coverage, so whenever I am completed with it, obviously then the white will show out a lot more. This is just an 18 count Aida off white, nothing special about it. Probably picked it up from Amazon at some point. So that is the progress I've made on White Owl. Also for Full Coverage Fanatics, I have been working on this project, also another Artecy project. This is Edgar Degas' The Green Dancer. So I think many of you know, this is a 19th century painting, and Artecy charted it. And so here's where I am now. I managed to fill in a lot of the dancers here. This is quite a confetti heavy part here, and then I also used it here. Got a lot done here. So this was also for Full Coverage Fanatics. It's the last square I have in bingo. It's their project that is closest to being done. And while I am not, doesn't look like I've done a huge amount on it, it is one of my smaller full coverage pieces. And so therefore, just by the virtue of its size, it is one of the smallest ones that I've worked on. But what you can see here, I didn't quite finish this page here. I still have a lot of confetti in here, but for one of the groups I'm in, we had to do I had to do some urgent stitching, so I came and did a lot more solid stitching here. The good thing about that is that this is the edge of the pattern. So as a result of that, this is how this show gives you an example of how wide it is. There's a little bit under the Q-snap here, but not much. So basically, this is the width of a Q-snap, and I'm really loving this. And what I'm looking forward to is there's more of this kind of background up here, but then after that, I'm just all getting, this will be a lot of the actual green dancer as opposed to these ones in orange. So I'm really looking forward. I like dancers, and I also really like the colors in this piece. This is also stitched on an 18 count Aida. So then I am a member of Carolyn Zook and Robin's monthly magazine Cross Stitch Challenge, another Facebook group. And basically every month we have a theme. So the theme for January is New Year, and and there's also an acrostic that goes along with it. So the next thing that I stitched, and then they also this month have something called Bringo. Obviously it's like bingo, and it's a takeoff of Brr, because it's so cold in the northern hemisphere right now, and I'm in northern Florida, and January was cold for me. It was often in the 30s and 40s in the morning, and I didn't like that very much. It's back in the 60s in the morning. I'm much happier now. And this is my Bringo board. There is no difference between any of the colors, just depending on which highlighter I found. And every day, Carolyn would draw a different prompt, and we had to do it. And we knew what our board was ahead of time. Somehow, I still have not managed to get a single bingo, and here we are on January 27th. All the numbers have been called. I can do anything, and I still, of what I have done, still haven't managed to get a bingo. So over the next couple of days, I will try and fill in this board a little bit more, but this is what it looks like. And so some of these projects I pulled out simply to fill prompts, which is great because 100 stitches is 100 stitches. So what one of the prompts that I filled was this is a project that I actually had started late last year for the group. This is a Halloween piece. I think it's called Ghostly Greetings. You can see what it is. This is an older magazine, so it has that sort of look of the 90s. And we had to stitch on something sparkly. So here's where I am now. And so what I chose to do was some of this purple in here. I don't think it's going to show up on camera very well, but that is that's a Krynic, a blendable filament. So one strand of Krynic, one strand of DMC. So it's, you can't really see the shine of it, but trust me, it is sparkly when you see it in person. I'm not a big fan of blendable filament, but nonetheless, gotta pull through it. I'm glad that I got it done, and I do especially like this little pumpkin here. He is really, really cute. And when I did this last time, I really made sure I wanted to get the back stitching done on him, so I made sure I filled him all in. So this is a fun project. I'm probably not going to pull it out that much until we get closer to Halloween, but that is where I am now. All right, the next project that I worked on was for the inauguration. I really wanted to work on something to celebrate, in my opinion, the return to a normal, probably boring president, but nonetheless, I think after 2020, boring in our leadership is not necessarily a bad thing. And so I picked up Oh Joyous Day. I know a lot of people working on patriotic stitching, but to me, this says a little bit more because I'm always happy to stitch on patriotic stitching. But for me, the inauguration really was a celebration. And also to have our first female vice president really means a lot to me, that we are finally getting women into some of the highest offices in our country. So this was one I had done. I started it in December in 2020 and basically put in the minimum 200 stitches so that I could get to meet the what they called a start on a project. So basically all I did was I basically did this flower. I may have pulled this border down a little bit more, but basically I just worked on this flower a little bit. So this is a lovely pattern. I've seen some people who have just done remarkable things with it. I do plan to pull it out, and I really would love to get it done this year. I don't know if that will happen, but it's a lovely, lovely pattern. The next project I worked on, like Erin to Martini Stitcher, I've copied her idea. I like to stitch on projects when it is their birthday. So this is Artecy's High Intensity. It is a cropped version. It's a Jaguar, and so I really like this picture or this pattern. And so here's where I am. I have not done too much on it. I think when I started it, I was missing a lot of colors, and so I may have started it, but I didn't get very far, and I finally was able to get everything I needed. And so right now you can just see this is the tail of the Jaguar that's coming through. But I really like this piece, and I lived in Belize for a few years, and they are indigenous to Central America, and so it just reminds me a lot of my time when I lived there. So they're beautiful animals. Unfortunately, not enough of them in the world. So then I also am a member of, so here's one pattern I'm working on. Actually, I showed this last time, but let me show, sorry. Here's the picture. It's called Sister Bears. These ones are called Caroline and Emma. So here's where I am now. Basically, I completed the hat, including the back stitching, and was able to pull down and do part of the bear's head. So these like sort of patches here are just the patches there are where like the eyes and the mouth will go, and so this is one that it's the January focus piece for the magazine monthly cross stitch challenge. I'm sure if I'm saying that correct, because it was to stitch on something different, for the new year. And this piece, because it was in a January edition of a cross stitch magazine, that's where I pulled it from. I'm also using this for Letters of the Month, which is another Facebook group. And I apologize for the crinkling when my cat is exploring everything that is surrounding me, and I have a lot to show today. But anyhow, so Letters of the Month, this is basically, you can only use one pattern for you pick a different pattern you get 2 letters and you pick a different pattern. So you have 24 for the year. So 2 patterns per month. You either have to take a starting letter from each of the from the pattern name or a major motif. So I picked this one because this is a bear. Obviously there's 2 teddy bears there, so that's why I picked this one. So this one I will not, while I will continue to stitch on it, I will not use it again for that challenge. So that you set your own goals. That I set a goal of putting in 500 stitches, and I was able to do that. I also obviously use this for the Bringo because they said your focus piece for the month, as well as your smallest one. And this, I can't guarantee this is my smallest project, but it's one of the smallest ones that I am working on. I also managed to, there's a Swan Lake by Forest Embroidery. Oops, get a little bit more in there. And this is not a great photo of it, but this has got to be one of my favorite projects right now. So here's where I am. I've managed to get the ballerina and the dancer almost complete. Her head is a little truncated because she has a headpiece, and I didn't get a chance to work on that. I also got one of the swan's head, as well as some of this sort of background going in here. I absolutely love this. The variegations in the threads that have variegations is just amazing. So the torso of the male dancer and all of these sort of things here, that is actually, which I think is a lake. I'm not entirely sure what it is. Anyhow, that is all the same floss color. So it is wildly variegated, but it just stitches up beautifully. And I'm really glad the way that I chose to do it, that I actually got the darker blues in the dancer, and then you can just sort of, as the waves of the water, it comes through like that. But I'm really, really loving this. This needle minder, I got this as a kit, and so this needle minder was part of the kit, and it's I believe it's a 32 count aida, gray aida that came with the kit. That's and the threads and everything are by Forest Embroidery. And so my next piece that I worked on, I pulled this one out mainly because of Whipco. It was the second Whipco draw that I had. The first one was Swan Lake, and this is Mandala Giraffe by Awesome Pattern Studio. So I got quite a bit done on this as well. My goal on my Whipco pieces, for the most part, are 1,000 stitches on each. So here you can see these black dots are the eyes, but I managed to get a lot more in, so you can now start seeing up. This is sort of the ear, and this coming up here is one of the horns of the giraffe. I still think if you don't know what this is, at this point you can't tell what it is, but I think I'm making a lot of progress on it, and I'm really, really pleased about it. And I've completed what I need to for my Whipco challenge on both of them. So I'm really pleased, and we'll see what next month brings. So some other things that I worked on just a little bit. This is a Haid. It's Midnight Vigil. It's a mini, but as everyone knows, a mini in Haid is not small. And this is really, 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 that's all I managed to get done. And I pulled this one out because it was for the Magazine Monthly Challenge, the Bringo. and also it was on the acrostic, it was one of the letters. They had the word affirm, so I pulled out Midnight Vigil for the M. So this is just the top right corner. I don't even have this fully kitted up yet, so I need to make sure every time I come to a color that I actually have it somewhere so that I can actually get that done. That's actually only 2 colors. It's 310 and 3799, so they're relatively easy colors to have. So I'm really, I really love that. I think, as you can probably guess, I love cats, and so I have, I really love cats, and so that it's something. I saw someone who posted it in the Hague group and thought, this is something I definitely want to stitch, so I went and found it. I chose to do the mini on it because doing that much black might depress me. Just, you know, I would get, not depress me, but bog me down and make me think that I don't want to continue to work on this. That just, I like having color in my cross stitch. I tend to lean towards things with a lot of colors. So that is what I have worked on for this week. I need to, for January, finish up a number of the blocks on the Bringo. They're 100 stitches each, and so it's not that much. I may not complete the whole table. In fact, I know I won't, because one of them is a new start from a magazine, and since I'm doing no new starts, that block will not be completed. But there are a few others and that I need to complete, and like, for example, I have Hawthorne Hollow listed on 2 different prompts, and so that will go relatively quickly once I pick it up and start to do it. So I'm looking forward to getting at least 1 bingo in Bringo. Also, I need to put in another like fewer than 100 stitches on Green Dancer to complete the bingo for Full Coverage Fanatics. Other things I plan to work on. So magical stitches, we have to stitch on something with a mythical creature. So I am doing this one. It's Mother of Dragons from Paine Free Crafts. So I think everyone would agree a dragon is a mythical creature. I would be kind of scared if they weren't. So this is a project that I started early-ish in 2020, and here's where I am now. Really not much to see. This is actually a part of the dragon wing, and then this is just the background in the sort of the archway in the stone castle. I have some Game of Thrones. I know how it ends. I bought this pattern before I knew how it ends, but I started it after I knew the end. But nonetheless, I really do like that picture, and this is also an easier stitch to do because there are a lot of blocks of color. It's not huge confetti, so sometimes when either because I have a challenge, one of the challenge, and I need to get in a lot of stitches very quickly, or sometimes when I'm just tired and I want something easy to stitch, this is a good one to do. So for me, getting 1,000 stitches on this over the next few days isn't that hard. For the monthly magazine challenge in February, the theme is love, and so I'm doing this one. Love one another. I'm not going to do this sort of border here, and I may also get stuck having to squish these roses up a little bit more because I pulled out what black fabric I had in my stash, and it is I'm playing a little bit of margin chicken. So let's see if I can put something behind this. This is just a 14 count black aida, so you can see if this is from Love One Another, so the T and part of the H. That's all I have done right now, but this also should be a relatively easy one to do. And going back to the original pattern, I do love the way that they have done the letters. I think they're really pretty, and I really liked this pattern from the beginning, and it doesn't bother me that I'm not doing the border, but this is again something that I think for January will be good to work on. The acrostic for January, or for February rather, is Candy. I have not figured out what my projects will be, but I will do that before February 1st, so I will know what projects I'm working on. For the letters of the month challenge, so I'm going to be working on C and D. So Green Dancer, which I showed earlier, I'm using for D because dancer, and what I'm using for the C is this one. So this is Gone Batty by Brenda Gervais. I think many of you are familiar with this pattern, and I'm doing C because one of the major motifs obviously is a cat. So here's where I am now on this, obviously. So I've done some of the cat's head. I've done this complete bat, which I think is really, really cute. this motif here of a star and a leaf, and that's really all I've managed to get done. This is one of those projects when I pick it up, I actually can get quite a bit done because it's a 28 count linen. It's from a company that I've never heard of. I picked it up at the cupboard in Fort Lauderdale, but it's this sort of greenish color. It's not quite showing. It's showing up more blue here. It's slightly more yellow in it. It is not the sort of Kermit green that the pattern originally calls for. That's not my favorite color. But when I saw this at the attic, I thought it was beautiful. This fabric, and so this color, and so I'm stitching it on this. This is another one of my patterns that are pieces that I'm playing a little bit of margin chicken on. So I did a center start on it so that I could have enough margin to go all the way around. There'll probably be about 1.5 inches, and that should be enough for me to do what I want to do. I am also going to be working on Huckleberry Farm. I think all of you are familiar with this pattern by the blue flower. This is ever since it came out at market, I just was stunned by it, and I think a lot of people have that feeling as well. Of course, it was during the pandemic, and getting shale from Picture This Plus, the fabric was really almost impossible. I did manage to get, I got a piece of Aida that was 16 count shale. But when I looked at it, the margins I thought they were just going to be too close for my comfort, especially on a piece like this that I really, really love it. And I wanted to make sure. I would hate to stitch the whole thing up and then not be able to have it finished properly. So again, this was something I started quickly for no new starts. I chose to have, this is all I've managed to do so far. This is a 32 count Picture This Plus Whimsy. So it is much more purple than shale would be. The picture looks really purple on the cover photo. Shale, I think as everyone knows, is not that purpley. It does have like undertones of purple, but it's more of a brown. But I decided to just go full on purple. I really like this color of Whimsy, and so I chose to do this. This is something I'll be working on both for, it's one of my Bringo squares, so I will definitely be pulling it out for that, but it is also for No New Starts as part of helping people motivate to work on their projects. They have various challenges as well within that group, and so one of them is Know Your Sign, and we're doing Aquarius this month, and so amethyst is the stone for February, and so this is a purple fabric, so that's why I'm using this for that prompt. So I'm really excited about that. To pull that out and actually be able to get a lot of stitches on that. However, it is still January, and I still need to finish my letter of the month from January. It's Apple Sampler. Here's a picture of it again. This is when I started. This is actually the first piece I started for the monthly magazine challenge because we started in September. We had to pick something from fall, and apples I think are our fall fruit. I'm doing this, except I'm cutting out these apples here. They just don't look attractive to me. So I've actually done quite a bit on this one, but I feel like I'm so close to it, and yet every time I work on it, I feel like I'm further away from being done. This is just on done on so here's where I am. I've done most of the cross stitches in that fruit bowl. I need to do the back stitching. I haven't done that yet. Same with the pie. I have a few more cross stitches to put in here, and then the back stitching. Tree, a few more stitches. So I feel like I'm sort of jumping around on this project, but I want to finish this for my letter of the month because it's an apple sampler, which is for the A. I need to get in fewer than 100 stitches to meet my personal goal of 500 stitches. Also for the Bringo challenge. So again, I need 100 stitches for that. This is for something out of season. Doesn't matter if you're in the northern or southern hemisphere. It's not fall where you are. It's either summer or winter. So I felt this was a good out of season one to work on. So those are my plans that I have right now. Again, I'm still waiting for the Whip Go draw. It's supposed to be happening later today, but congratulations to Jessie Marie, who manages the group. She had a baby. So if the numbers are drawn late, I'm totally fine with that because she should be focusing on her baby. And if Whip Go takes it back seat to that, I'm totally fine with that. I wish her all the best. I know she was really excited to have the baby. So I'm going to move into haul. I have a few things I'd like to show. So I was very fortunate to win from Erin to the Martini Stitcher. In December, she every day did a little Flossmas video, just a little snippet. She was doing some unboxings, some very delicious teas that she was showing, as well as I think a box from the Black Needle Society and another box that she was opening every day. And then as part of that, she was trying to spotlight small businesses, and so she was just bought little giveaways for people from small businesses, trying to encourage them to go take a look at those stores and to shop them. So I managed to, I won from some floss. This is all color and cotton. So here, so this is Blushing Beauty. This green one is, it's got a funny name. Yes, Fancy Green Nancy. And then this blue is Berry Bluebell. Sorry, I'm not doing my glasses on. So these are 3 beautiful pastel colors. I really love them. Thank you, Erin. And it'd be great. Not planning to start anything for spring with no new starts, but they will be great. And if I am working on something and don't like a color, it'll be great to have these in my stash, so that if I do find something this year, I can pull out and use these. Otherwise, they will be saved for 2022 when I will be doing new starts. In addition, I am a member of two different Fabric of the Month clubs. So the first one is from Fortnite Fabrics. I am a member of the 12 Shades of Gray. And so, sorry, this is probably not, but this is sort of a nice, sort of pale pearl gray, slightly mottled. They did a great job with this. And I believe on their latest video, one of them is actually stitching a project on this. So I am in the 32 count even weave. And this one is called Pardon Me. They, every month, with the grays at least, they are trying to tie it to something that has the color gray. So they have a little contest, if you can guess. The Pardon Me came from the old Grey Poupon ads, where I think like a limo pulls up to another limo and asks if they have any Grey Poupon or something. I vaguely remember the ads. So that's where Pardon Me came from. So this is a lovely, lovely fabric. Thank you, Derek and Christian. And then the other one, I have put myself on the waiting list for Brandy Bestitch Me Fabrics. And I only did that in late December. Everyone said there's a huge waiting list, you probably won't get it. And I got in the middle of January something that says, hey, you're in the club. But because it was so late, she's like, you can either get the one for January or you can wait until February. I hopped on it, immediately got it. I also get 32 count even weave in this club as well. And this is a spoiler alert because I'm not so worried about Fortnite Fabrics because they show it in their videos. But in case you haven't gotten this, I'm also in the get what you alternate. So this is the neutral for this month, but I might get it in the color group next month. So this is the one, and it's called Honey, and it's a beautiful neutral. A little bit of a yellowish tinge to it. So thank you, Brandy. This is really great. Thank you. I also in Etsy, I really wanted some new needle minders, wanted to add to my collection. And so I went to Mad for Minders and bought a few. So here's the ones I bought. This is a Liberty Bell, and I'm definitely using this on Let Freedom Ring. This is sideways. This is a picture of cats on books. This is one from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Derek and Christian also had this in their latest video. This is a cake, and this is one I will show you the project I bought this for, which is it's a Haid little cake shop. Not a little one, it's my largest project, but I'm going to use it for that. This is the preamble to the Constitution, and this is the Dragonfly M from Gilmore Girls. So I am very late to the Gilmore Girls. This is one of the when I, with my career, when I was living overseas, didn't get a lot of American TV, didn't really miss it, but then you hear people talking a lot about shows, and so my husband and I have finally been binge watching the Gilmore Girls, and we absolutely love it. So I was very excited to get the Dragonfly in. So that is it for my haul. Oh, actually, I take that back. I have one more thing I want to show you. So this is, I got from Twin Peaks Primitives. This is just the PDF download. This is called Wisdom of Love. And I think, as many of you know, Just Keep Stitching promotes every week a pattern from Twin Peaks Primitives. And this was the pattern, I think, a week or two ago, where when you buy it that week, you get a discount on it. And I really liked this one because of the quote from Rumi. He was a, I want to say 12th or 13th century poet who was in the Ottoman Empire. And just, I read a book a few years ago by Elif Shafak. I'm not going to get the name wrong. It's like 101 Rules of Love or 1001 Rules of Love, something like that. It's one of these books that alternates. Sorry, that's my cat, Kayo, by the way. Who was very intrigued about what's going on here. But anyhow, it's a book that goes sort of back and forth between when Rumi lived and I believe a more modern day. I read this book six or 7 years ago. But it's just sort of fascinating to sort of get a glimpse of life during that time. And so I was really excited when they had this pattern out. It looks like this is monochromatic. I probably, when I do this, will use Turkish red in honor of the fact that he lived in what is now modern day Turkey, and since it's red anyhow. But that's still a while off. I have some time to plan, but I was really, really happy to get this pattern because of the book by Elif Shafak, and just sort of having a chance to learn more about Rumi. And I didn't know much about him, and I was actually, at the time, when I read the book, I was studying Turkish language, and so it just everything tied in really nicely. So that is all I have for the cross stitch. I just wanted to let you know about a couple of books that I have finished over the past couple of weeks. I am also, in addition to cross stitch challenges, I have joined a number of reading challenges as well. Those are much more self-motivated, and quite frankly, I use them more to give me prompts about expanding my reading areas. So I do the Pop Sugar Challenge. One is, I think, 52 books in 52 weeks, and I sort of alternate back and forth choosing the prompts. I probably read about 50 books a year right now, so it's unlikely that I will finish either of the challenges. Pop Sugar has 50 prompts, but some of them I can cross over, and if I can use one book for a prompt from each of them, I will. But I started with the Pop Sugar Challenge, and I decided I was going to rip the Band-Aid off and do the most painful one, which was your longest book on your to be read list. And I picked Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace. And this book was written in, I believe, the mid 1990s. And it is what I would call a plotless book. Basically, I'm not even going to try to explain what it's about. I found it very difficult to read, and I ended up skimming a lot of it at times because I just didn't care about it. There was no character development, and he created this very intense game that's sort of based on tennis, and I was not interested in that. But there were, in my opinion, moments of genius in the book, and I wanted to make sure that I read that, especially when he was talking about addiction and sort of how people reacted to that, and then also, or not reacted, but how people who were addicted and trying to get out of it, and some of their fears. I think, as many of you know, David Foster Wallace committed suicide, so clearly he had his own demons that he was trying to fight. And so it just gives really good insight in a way that is not preachy at all about what addicts are going through to try to kick the habit, and what their life is like. And so those parts of the book, in my opinion, made it worth it, although I skimmed the rest. The book is over 1,000 pages long. And then the second book I read, which I'm sure many of you have read, was Educated by Tara Westover. This is about when she was a girl. She lived basically in a very rural area, and her, in particular, her father had no trust of government, and so therefore she never went to public school. Her parents, or she did learn to read, so it wasn't that she was, illiterate, but that she never had a formal education. And it's just, how did she pull herself out of that? She ended up going to BYU for college, and then going on, I believe, to Cambridge, and then she got her PhD later. And so just sort of and she's now, and her PhD, I believe, is in history. And how did she pull herself out of that situation and her relationship with her family. So kudos to everyone who read, recommended that book. It was really, really good. Apparently her mother has now written a counter book to that, because her mother doesn't come off the best in her book. It's not that her mother, I mean, she's clear that she loves her mother in the book, but that some of the decisions her mother made in raising her, she doesn't agree with. And so it would just, part of me wants to read that book and part of me doesn't, because I am one who believes in formal education. Homeschooling is fine, but it needs still to be schooling and not just, here I'm teaching you a few things to read and the rest of it is yours. If that's the way to choose, if you want homeschooling, that is great. If you want to go to another school, online school, whatever, that's great. But I think I'm one of these people who really believes that education is really important, and learning about critical thinking and learning about diverse point of views, regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, but just learning that not everyone in the world thinks like you, and that's what you get through education. So part of me doesn't want to read the mother's book because of that, and a part of me, though, will be interested because Educated is a memoir, and there are even several times in the book where she says, I'm not really sure about this memory because I've talked to my siblings and they have a different point of view. And so no one, she acknowledges we don't exactly know what the truth is. So I just found that to be very interesting as well. Just sort of in a memoir, where is that line? I think maybe a decade ago, probably longer now. I think many of you might remember this scandal of A Million Little Pieces, where someone wrote his autobiography about his experience of kicking addiction. He was on Oprah, and then it started coming out that he had made up a lot of the stuff. So that's why a memoir, because it's sort of you putting a lens on yourself, is a little bit different than an autobiography, which has to be much more factual. So, but I chose Educated because one of the prompts for Pop Sugar was a book that everyone has read but you, and that was one of those books. And so I really am glad that I had an opportunity to read it because I learned a lot from it. And so I'm not sure what my cat Kayo has found up there, but clearly she's about to break something. So I think that means that it's time for me to go. Thank you to everyone. If you made it this long, thank you for watching. I hope if you enjoy what you see, that you will subscribe, like, and leave a comment if you like. And I will see you in again in about 2 weeks. Thank you.